Hey, so today we are going to be learning how to play the harmonica. Just a brief overview of how the video is going to be laid out is we're just going to talk about the brief history of the harmonica and how it kind of evolved over time since this instrument actually has been dated back for thousands of years. We're just going to discuss kind of the origins of it and then how it came to be and how it into its modern form now. Um, we're going to have a step by step overview and analysis of how to complete this activity. And then also, as well, we are going to incorporate the steps that we're going to learn in just a short bit to play the intro to a very famous song. And so, just a brief history of the harmonica. It dates back to about 1100 BC. It was used as a vibrating, using bamboo sticks and a curving pipe, and also a free reed, which is a piece of metal that's able to, it's very flex or very, yeah, it's very like flexible. So it's bendable. It's going to be able to create those vibrations um, for the musical tone that they, like I said, that dates back to about 1100 BC, and that's actually considered a Chinese instrument. It was called a shang. Um, that is kind of where the origins of that began. However, the more modern harmonicas that we see today, so for example, I have my harmonica right here. This is going to be what's called a diatonic harmonica. This is 10 holes, and the modern shape and how it turned out to be today actually was credited to um, a Dutch physician called Christian Gottlieb Krasenstein. I probably butchered that, but um, in 1780 he wanted to create what he called a talking machine, which again used the free reeds that we saw in the origins of the shang to create or mimic human speech. So he kind of wanted to make it sound like you were talking when you were playing the instrument, and so other inventors kind of branched off of that and created smaller instruments that they used to call the terpodion or the harmonium. So harmonium obviously is sounds very similar to the harmonica. So over time, these inventors just kind of did their own spin off on it instead of it becoming a talking machine like what Krasenstein had in mind. It became considered a mouth organ by the 1820s. And so around 1857, Matthias Hohner became the person that started to mass produce these harmonicas as it kind of came to form. And they actually became very popular among German immigrants. And also, shortly thereafter, it kind of went west and um, ended up coming to America in the U.S. Um, right after the German immigrants, because that's where he's from, and so it actually became the popular thing to do during the World Wars. It's known to be as the golden age of the mouth organ, because a lot of vaudeville acts and Hollywood films would show these harmonicas, and their actors would be playing them and using them. And during the war, it became very popular, and so that is why it's considered to be the golden age. Um, and over time, as these actors began to use them, it kind of switched over to music to where it is today. And so a lot of the blues and jazz style music usually incorporate a harmonica, and some of the most popular artists of the 20th century used the harmonica. So, for example, two artists that I personally love listening to, and they incorporate the harmonica in a lot of their songs, um, would be Stevie Wonder and Billy Joel. So we're going to kind of talk about that later on with the handout. But that is the brief history of the harmonica. So now the next thing that I would like to do is actually begin playing. So we're going to have our harmonica right here. I will be conducting the activity analysis step by step. So, all right. So before I begin the physical performance of the whole activity, I kind of just want to break down the written instructions here that the client will be using to perform this activity. So I tried to make this as straightforward and just kind of easy to read as possible. So we're just gonna kind of read through the line down the line here of what is going to be done here. So the tools that will be needed to complete this activity, it's going to be that diatonic harmonica to 10 hole, key of C. There are different harmonicas out there, different variations. There are ones that have 12 holes and there are ones that are in a different key. However, just for the purpose of this activity and also just for most, if not all, beginners or even harmonica players that have been experienced over the years. They all began with the diatonic harmonica. This is just like kind of the universal one. So that is the one that is going to be used in this activity. And then I kind of just put this as an optional thing, but it's also included in the kit with the harmonica kit, which is a soft cloth for cleaning. I also included that to be one of the options in the activity analysis steps below. So kind of reading through the steps below and kind of having a small description for them. So visually locating their harmonica, just needing to make sure that we have the spatial awareness to be able to locate where the harmonica is. Reaching towards the harmonica with the non-dominant hand, we're just going to be testing to see if there's any difficulty in terms of reaching or if there's any sort of difficulty in terms of stability in the arms or the upper extremities or even just balance, trying to reach and lean forward. Using that pinch grip to pick up their harmonica. So this is all going to be demonstrated physically, and we'll break it down there even more. But using that pinch grip, so when I think of the pinch grip, I would use my thumb and my index finger. I actually would include the middle finger as well. So those three fingers is what I'm going to be using to be considered the pinch grip to pick up the harmonica. We're going to orient the harmonica horizontally in front of the mouth. So we're gonna see this in the physical performance, and so it would make a lot more sense once we get to that point. But we're gonna orient the harmonica horizontally in front of the mouth. And then step 5, we have a photo for reference that we're going to see in the next page. The cupping technique, the dominant hand is going to be create a cupping shape while maintaining the pinch grip on the non-dominant hand, and it's going to cover over each other. And that is for stability and also to keep the sound more localized and close. That's step 5. Step 6 is going to be identifying the labels of the top cover plate. And when I show you the harmonica in more detail, you're going to see that the harmonicas are going to have either an engraving or like kind of a label to show what holes are what between 1 through 10. And that will ensure what your orientation would be. Sit/stand with an upright posture to keep the diaphragm expanded. I'm going to highlight that more deeper and more in depth once I get to the physical part. The diaphragm is going to be a major key in this activity because it's going to be where the breath control is. That's going to be where the just the overall breathing in terms of getting the power that you need to get the note out. That's all going to be coming from the diaphragm, and that's important that we keep that upright posture for that reason. Bringing the harmonica towards the lips while maintaining that posture. We're going to slightly open the lips and relax the jaw. We're going to see why it's going to be difficult for somebody to not be able to perform the harmonica all the way through if the harmonica is not in between the lips and or if it's between the teeth, because that's just not the correct way to do it. Step 11, performing that embrocher that we're going to see in the references. That is a small rounded mouth opening that you will be able to cover the one or multiple holes over. 12 and 13 are the draw and blow notes. So inhaling would be considered what is a draw note, and exhaling is what is considered a blow note. That is going to be completely different 14 is going to be adjusting that lip position using the pucker or the tongue blocking technique to isolate the note. We're going to see an example of that as well in the visual aid. Following the sheet music, we're going to play the tune of the chords provided, also going to be in that sheet on the back side of this. Moving the harmonica laterally with hand control to locate the next hole. That's going to just require just the awareness and the facial muscles that we're going to talk about that are needed in order to perform that. Reposition the harmonica for comfort and orientation, playing the song to completion, and then 19 and 20 kind of tie in with 21. So when you remove the harmonica from your mouth, put it back in the neutral position. The neutral position would be step 4 and step 5, where it's directly in front of your mouth, and that cupping technique. Usually when you're done playing, you can just drop the cupping part, obviously. And then step 20 would be placing that harmonica back in the proper orientation. And then it's 21, optional, using that soft cloth provided. You're going to wipe that mouthpiece off when you're done. And then just a small brief thing on the back of this. So before we get to the back of this, I'm sorry. Those are the notes below 1 through 10. And depending on if it's a blow or draw note, it's a different note. And so that obviously will change exactly how it sounds and how the song is going to be played. And so that is kind of just the overview of what those notes may look like. When we look at the sheet music, it's obviously going to be different. We're not going to be using notes because notes are going to be really hard to memorize for a first timer. So we're actually going to be looking at numbers, and we're going to see that right now. All right, so now we're on the back side of this handout. Kind of talked about it briefly in the beginning there, the history of the harmonica. We're just going to go through it again. It was a Chinese reed instrument around 1100 BC, using bamboo and a curving pipe. They used, and along with the metal rods, or metal reeds rather, they produced the sound. The more modern version of the harmonica that we're seeing today was credited to Krasenstein, that Dutch physician who wanted to make that talking machine. And the spin-offs that followed along that, like the Tripodian and the harmonium, that sounds like the harmonica, leading to the compact mouth organ of the 1820s. So those little spin-offs kind of created what is looked like to be the modern day harmonica. And then in 1857, Matthias Hohner was the one that started mass producing their harmonicas, and it became part of the Western culture, and that's where it really blew up, particularly among German immigrants. This was actually during the World Wars. This is what was considered the golden age of the mouth organ, because this is where the actors, the vaudeville acts, and the Hollywood films would show these harmonicas being played. And shortly thereafter, it blew up, and that's when a lot of musicians during that time began to perform with the harmonica and use the harmonica. And then in the evolution of music, by the mid-20th century, the harmonica became a very essential part of blues and jazz and that type of music, and it became a staple instrument for many worldwide known recording artists. And two of them that we see in this handout would be Stevie Wonder and Billy Joel. Those are two of my personal favorites that I absolutely love listening to, and they are well known for their harmonica skills. Some other artists like Bob Dylan, also are known to use the harmonica in their music, or in his music rather. And so moving on to the visual aids, we're going to see here is a tongue blocking example that I talked about, that we're actually going to have the tongue physically cover the other holes that we don't want to play, and we're going to isolate that singular note, and that's what we're going to be using. That's what the tongue blocking is. The cupping example that we're going to use here kind of shows that right hand of his cupping over the pinch grip of the left hand where the harmonica is located, just for that located sound and stability. The embrocher example, so we see that it says don't do this, do this, so obviously don't do this. He has a small mouth opening, which is what is needed. However, it is not big enough for that harmonica to fit in between the lips, because if we do it like that and keep that small opening without putting it in between the lips, it's more so like you're blowing into the harmonica, which is the incorrect way to do it. The correct way is exactly how that right photo looks, is that the harmonica is in between his lips, not between his teeth, and he's actually going to be inhaling and exhaling that note through whatever hole he is playing. That tab that we see there is actually going to be the song that I will be playing and that song that we will be learning. That is going to be Piano Man by Billy Joel, the intro at least. And like I said previously, we see a whole bunch of numbers here. It's not the notes. However, we do see negatives. And so the negatives mean something compared to the positives. And so when you see a negative number in their harmonica, when you see it in the sheet music, it means something different. So kind of going back to what I was saying earlier about the blow note and the draw note, the negative numbers will mean it's an inhale note, which means that is what is called the inhale note is what is called a draw note. And so when you see the negative, you're going to be inhaling that note compared to the first six that you see, which is just a positive six. That is going to be considered the blow note because you're going to be exhaling that before while you're playing. And so throughout the song, as you can see, it says positive six, negative five, positive five. So kind of just deciphering which one is which is going to be the hardest part in terms of reading. But once that is down, that is key to playing. Because for example, right, the negative, like let's just say the positive six, if we're going to go back to the key that I gave you in the front, the blow note for that is a G, but the draw note is an A, and it's a completely different note. So that's why it's important to see that and understand that. And so, yeah, and that should be all. And the two artists that I mentioned, Billy Joel and Stevie Wonder, are right there with their harmonicas. And so now we're going to get started with the physical performance. All right, so we're going to do the physical performance now. You're going to watch me kind of conduct this here. We're going to break it down as slow as I can go just to make it the most clear. So now we're going to visually locate the harmonica using that pinch grip. Here we're going to reach with our non-dominant hand. We're on step 3 here. So now picking it up, we are going to orient it in front of the mouth, step 4. Right, so we're going to be orienting it in front of the mouth. Step 5, dominant hand. You see my hand there. We are going to be doing that cupping shape as if we need to reference, the photo is going to be in the written instructions. But I will be doing that cupping shape right now while maintaining that pinch grip on the non-dominant hand. You see me scooting up in my chair as we are going to be doing this at the stand. You see me looking currently right now, identifying the numbers. It's kind of hard to tell there, but identifying what numbers are what. And now we're going to be sitting in that upright position, bringing the harmonica to our lips while maintaining that upright posture. That is what we're going to be doing right now. Yep. And also just kind of seeing the mouth shape here in step 9, slightly opening the lips, relaxing the jaw. You kind of want your lips kind of out more and your jaw relaxed, because if it's tight, it's not going to be able to fit. And so now with the embrocher there, you're going to see me turn my head here shortly. So kind of similar to the visual aid there, you see it's between my lips. It is not going to be in between my teeth. So now what's going to happen is is that I will be doing the draw note and blow note. Obviously you can't hear it there. You're going to hear it during the performance. And so while I am doing that, I'm going to be adjusting my lip position. You can't really tell what I'm doing with the harmonica in my mouth currently, but I will do the tongue blocking technique to isolate the single note. Following the sheet music, I'm going to start moving that harmonica laterally as I need to locate the next hole. And so now, after that, you play it to completion, and I'll be performing that intro right now. hopefully that wasn't too bad. So now that we're done here, we're gonna kind of reset here and continue on with the steps. So after the song is played to completion, we're actually going to remove our hand from the harmonica, the cupping part, that would be step 19, and then placing it back in proper orientation, which is above the mouth. 21, optional, washed cloth or soft cloth, and wipe it off once you are completed. Okay, don't mind the pokeball there or the mess. So I'm going to kind of show you a more in-depth detail of what the harmonica may look like. So as you can see, I'm going to try my best to kind of get that vision there. But there's the Fender Blues Deluxe. This is the brand and the name of the harmonica. Not much to it. It's really just a nice design there, as you can see there. So every single harmonica tells you what key the harmonica is in. So this is in the key of C, like I was saying earlier. And it also says it here in that gold right there, C. There's your 10 holes. There's an engraving right there, if you can see, 1 through 10. And so depending on what the song may entail, or if it's a blow note or a draw note, that is what is going to be done there. And typically, as you can tell, if you're going to put your lips over it, it's going to be very difficult for you if you're going to put basically the inside of your lips, so it looks like your whole mouth, with the exception of your teeth, inside of these holes. It's going to be very hard for you to isolate, and you would feel like you're going to be blowing into multiple holes. So actually, as beginners, that is what you start with, is that you kind of play these group holes. Although, like, let's say, for instance, so for Piano Man, the first note is a 6. So there's a 6 right there. 6 hole is going to be right here. So our mouth may be in the 5, 6, and 7 hole. But the main source of kind of the inhale and the exhale is going to be coming through the 6 hole. So yes, the note is the 6 hole. However, we're playing the 5, 6, and 7. So that is where the isolation of the tongue blocking would come in, which would be, in this instance, if we're trying to play the 6, we would probably put our mouth somewhere in this general area, the 3, 4, 5 hole, and 6, obviously. But we would basically use our tongue and block off these 3 or 2 or 3 and play that singular note with the remaining like hole that we have in our lips. So that does take a lot of practice, and that does take time to kind of develop, because it's very difficult to isolate those notes. But that is usually what the self-isolation means in terms of those notes. And so that is kind of the further in-depth detail. Like I said, with other harmonicas, this will be a different note if they are not playing a diatonic harmonica and they're using a different key. Some may have 12. If we looked at the photo from the written instructions, Stevie Wonder's harmonica is longer because there are more holes in it, and it is in a different key depending on what song it is. So yeah, that is the detailed version of the harmonica. So now I'm going to kind of just go over the blow notes and the draw notes and what that may sound like. All right, so going off of the handout that we saw, the blow note and the draw note obviously is going to be different. So if I wanted to perform the draw note, that means I would be inhaling, so sucking in the note. We're going to focus on the 6 hole here because that is what the song entails. So again, pinch grip, we're going to be here, cupping technique. So I'm going to be putting my mouth over the 6 here. And so it's going to be the inside of my lips, not just the outside nor the teeth. I'm not biting down on it. So get the lips moist. And so we would go here. And if I'm going to be doing the draw note, that would be an inhale. So it would sound like this. So as you can hear that there are the note, the root note, and then like a small little like kind of, I guess, side note that you can hear because I'm not isolating. I'm keeping that 6. However, I'm also blowing and hitting the 7 and maybe even the 8 hole. So 6 hole plus 7, I guess, technically. So here. So that is going to be what the blow note sounds like in a 6 hole, but the draw note is going to sound completely different, even if it's in the 6 hole. So that's a completely different note. So again, blow note, draw note. So you can tell that it is a very different sound in terms of, playing. So I would say that that is going to be an important key aspect of when you are playing, is that you're able to sequence and decipher those things. Is that, hey, I see a negative here, that means that, or I see a positive here, that means that. And so that is honestly going to be one of the more complex components, cognitive functions, that are going to be necessary in order to complete this. um, Along with the facial structures, obviously going to be able to transition. So it's like moving over and being able to kind of control the breathing and the diaphragm. This is kind of what I wanted to highlight a little bit more in terms of the diaphragm and the breathing. Is the reason why that we need to keep that diaphragm expanded, is because it takes a lot of breath control to be able to transition. So like even when you watch me perform the introduction, like I still had a little bit of choppiness in between those breaths trying to transition. It's because um, although I've been, practicing obviously, and I've been learning how to properly perform the song, it does take a lot of breath control to smoothly transition over. So like if we're going to play again part of the first part of the intro, so it goes from 6 to 5, and that is in between the blow and the draw notes. So it's going to be very hard if I'm slouched over, for example, like this, and I'm doing this. Like it's going to require a lot more energy compared to here with the diaphragm expanded. I will have a very more full, rich sound, and it'll be a lot easier for me to move on. So just kind of moving like that is going to be a little bit better when the diaphragm is expanded, because we're going to need a lot of breathing. It's very similar to playing brass instruments, or even singing rather. Um, a lot of people would keep their diaphragm and their chest high while they're singing, because they want to maintain that kind of breath control, and also being able to push out enough breath to make those notes happen, and to sing whatever octave that they need to be in. Same thing with this. Without the proper expansion and contraction of the diaphragm, it's going to be a lot harder for me to push out the air that I need, or inhale the air that I need um, in order to be able to play. And so that's why the diaphragm is the most important part, I would say, in terms of doing that. And also, I wanted to kind of highlight some adaptations that could be used for this instrument. Um, as we can see in the going back to the handout, Billy Joel performs Piano Man. Obviously, he's not using his hands to play the harmonica, he's using his hands to play the piano. So there is that equipment that you see around his neck. It's kind of, there's multiple names for it. People call it a harmonica rack or a harp rack. Some people just call it a neck brace. I honestly thought I just called it a neck brace when I first looked at it. That's what I thought it was called. Um, However, we'll just call it a rack for short. Um, that could be considered an adaptive tool that somebody can use in order to play the harmonica. Like, let's say, for example, if they do have, because a lot of physical needs in terms of upper extremity um, and stability. So, like, let's say, for an example, for somebody that may have a deficiency, or maybe their upper extremity may be compromised to the point to where they don't have the stability, they don't have their muscle strength is not adequate enough to be able to maintain that upright posture, or even just picking it up and holding it like this. If they don't have the capabilities to do that, then this neck brace is a perfect tool for that. Yes, also, we want to support like independence and promote independence in terms of trying to work in the strength of that. But some adaptive equipment, so like for an example, I actually saw an amputee playing their harmonica. They had one arm amputated, and he was playing the harmonica with the neck brace. Obviously, if you're going to be able to, if you need both hands or arms to complete the activity, and he lost one of his arms, he was able to still complete this thing that he enjoyed doing this occupation that he enjoyed doing with this adaptive equipment made it a lot easier for him. Hey, I put this neck brace on and then I play what I need to play and it sounds great. He's able to still remain independent with the help of that adaptive tool. And so I think that that neck brace is a very key tool in terms of adaptive equipment that could help with somebody that may struggle with, you know, performing without any adaptive equipment. That could be something that could be implemented to help them in their interventions. Um, and so, yeah, but that is the history, that is the performance, that is everything, just basics of the harmonica. Um, I hope that it made sense and I hope that it was good. So, thank you again for watching, and